Okay, we're going to build a step shaft here today. The idea of it is about, I don't know, once we get it to size we'll measure, but from about here back will be 2/1000 oversize, and it will be pressed into a hub. And from about here to the end will be 20/1000 oversize, and it will be pressed into a spline. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 20/1000 quite a bit, but the spline's very hard, so it should cut its own slice in there, and I think everything will fit just fine. We'll just take her down a bit here and we'll show you what's happening. Most of the time I cut with a little fluid, but we'll just keep this dry until we get down close, and then maybe we'll put a little something on it. Most guys run their stuff faster and cut faster than this, but I'm in no rush, so we'll just put away here and cut her down. Close to the end here. I'll probably just reverse it and let it run back and clean it. We need a total of 904 thousandths on this part of the shaft in here, so we need to take it down a fair amount here. Yep. I would take 20 thou off and we'll see how that goes. To the end here. I'm not going to run it back this time, I'll just run her by hand. And we'll give that a little measure and see what we have here. We started with 963 on that cut, so it should be around 43 somewhere in there. Yeah, 943 right in the button. So we'll take another 10 and we'll be at 23. Keeping in mind, you know, when you take 10 on your gauge, you're actually taking 20 thou off the shaft. It cuts all the way around. So it's taking twice as much as what you really think it is. Cutters last 3-4 times as long. I used to use cooling liquid all the time, but it gets stinky and I don't use the lathe enough anymore, so I just put a little bit of, actually that's just threading oil, so anything like that'll help. Okay, so we have 923 thou. That's the last measurement I took. So we want 904 left, so we actually have to take 19. I think I'll take 5 and we'll leave 9 there for the last tune. Okay, this should take 10 out. There should be 913 when we're done here. Take a little dab on the end and we'll measure that just to make sure I'm not doing something that I shouldn't be doing. 915 we're going to end up with. Okay, we'll just take a quick measure here. We should be around the 912 or so, 912, something like that. 913. So we need to take 9 thou more. So I think we will do 8. We'll take 8. And that will, or 4 I mean, that will make 8 thou. There. Should leave 1. We'll just shut it off where it sits. Lots of guys don't like to do that. It doesn't seem to hurt the cutter any, so long as you don't turn it backwards, and it'll maybe chip it off or something. I do it all the time, and I'm not saying it doesn't hurt the odd cutter, but they're not that much money. $906. Let me just check that once more. 906 thou. So we'll have to work it maybe with a little emery or something when we're done. We'll see. I might run it backwards on here too. Get to the end. If I walk it back out of there, it'll probably take a thou off. I'll measure it once we get there, and we'll see what happens. Thou doesn't sound like very much, but a couple of file strokes at the end of the job will make it too small. Okay, we're at the end. I'm actually just going to walk it back here a little bit, and then I'll do a measurement and see how we're doing. We should be within a thou. Okay, we take our trusty caliper. This caliper is, you know, these digital calipers are amazingly accurate. Like, wow. Even, you know, I leave mine laying around and whatever, and the next day they're just as accurate as they were the day before. 905. So yeah, we'll work this back, and then probably I'll finish it up with a file. We'll just see how it goes here. Okay, we'll wipe this guy off. We should be at 905 thou. Might be a half bigger. Might be 905.5. That's possible. As long as it's not less. 905. 905. 905. That's very accurate. Like it, old machine, but it doesn't look like I take care of it. I know there's a lot of stuff on it, but it gets oiled regularly. When I first bought it, I started cleaning it. Cleaned it off all the time, did a really nice job. Next thing I know, it was starting to get a little rusty, so that ended that deal. I'm content to leave it the way it is and clean the cuttings off once in a while. Okay, so we're at 905 thousandths. I'm just going to work it a little bit with one of my files here. Files should always have a handle. If you don't, you're looking for trouble. I've got one here that I just bought actually. I'll get a set of handles for it. You shove that through your hand and right out the back of your arm, and you won't know what happened until you look and see it. That's how fast these things actually go. You don't think they're turning fast, but they do a lot of damage to you in short order. No loose clothing. Keep everything up tight on your arms or back off your arms, whatever. Never wear anything like that. It'll grab you, pull you in there, bust your arms. I actually know a guy had 3 fingers ripped right out of his hand. Tore the tendons and everything out. We'll see what we have there now. It should be close. Sometimes it takes a little chewing. If you take very much off with a file, lots of times you don't notice it unless you measure all the way around, but things go egg-shaped on you really fast. Mm, 904.5. So we're half a thou out. I'm just going to take a little more with the file and I think we'll be right on the money. I'm going to use this other one a little finer here. Check that. Doesn't take much. You're too small. And the trees have more iron to grow good on. $904.5. Actually, it just changed to 904. We'll do that again. $904.5. We just need a little bit more there. Pretty soon it's too much. That should do it. Shiny it up with a little emery maybe. Be the end of it. Just a little touch up with some wore out emery. It just makes it a little nicer. That should do it. We should be on 904. If we're not, we're staying there anyway. Three places. Check it. I think we're... yeah, we're good enough. There we have 904 thou. That's what we want. We'll have to cut the rest of this down from here. I have to do some measuring. We'll cut the rest of this down to fit the spline. A little bit of a taper here. No sense shoving it through there if it's tight, if it's not doing any good. We only need, I think it's only 3/4 of an inch on the end there. or on the inside of it. Okay, we have a bit of a mark right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll just spin it. Probably not, but anyway, that's what we're doing. And I'm just going to take, I don't know, what will we take here? We'll take 5 thou off it. That'll make 10 on the shaft. It's just because we don't need it all. There's no sense having it all tight. Maybe we'll just make that a little more plain so we can see it better. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, we have a bit of a mark right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll just spin it. Probably not, but anyway, that's what we're doing. And I'm just going to take, I don't know, what will we take here? We'll take 5 thou off it. That'll make 10 on the shaft. It's just because we don't need it all. There's no sense having it all tight. Maybe we'll just make that a little more plain so we can see it better. There we go. Cutter, a little cutting oil on it helps too. It's amazing how long these cutters last. Actually, they're good quality cutters. I'm not going to get into names or anything, but the amount that I do, they actually last me months, unless you screw up and start cutting on hard stuff or whatever. They stand up really good. Keep them a little cool. And, the pressures that are made there on that cutter tip are like thousands of pounds of pressure against that cutter. It's amazing that stuff like that even works. So we'll go into the notch here that I've made. I always just use it. Unless it has to be really close tolerances, I usually just use my file. most machinists would be bored with this. They would take it down lots at once. I just like to take my time at it. I enjoy doing it, I guess. I'm in no rush to get it over with, so I just chew away at it. Actually, I think I've done it both ways, and I end up, you get a nicer job this way. You know, your cutter isn't chattering or gouging or anything, it's just taking a piece off. I'm going to reverse it, I think, this time, and I'll just run it back out for the heck of it. We're only probably 20 thou off of what we want to be here anyway, so we'll try that. I usually shift this on the go, but kind of grinds. Got her backed up here now. We'll just cleaned it up nice, actually. We'll just see what we have here for size. I think we're quite a bit over yet. We're probably, I don't know, I guess 810. I'll see what we have here. It seems to me I said we wanted 783. Yeah, 810.5. 810, yeah. That's what it should have been. 811 up there. Okay, so we'll take 5 this time. That will make 10. This will be one of our last cuts here. I think we're taking 10 off here now, so that should probably leave us, I don't know, somewhere 17 thou left to take. Okay, we'll see what we have here. Should be around 800 thou. 800.5. Yep. Okay. Okay, I just checked. We need 783. So we need 17 thousandths off of there. I'm going to get brave and I'm going to take 8 thou. That will make 16, so we should have 1 left. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, so you're wondering what this is all about, shaft and everything here. This is the shaft that we just made. This is just a void here. It does nothing. It just has to be there for the length. We're going to press this in here. Like so. There's a spline inside. And then right out on the outer end here is where this part of the shaft will get pressed. That's where our 4 thousandths is. There's a 2 thousandths crush there. She could get a little tight, but we'll see what happens. It'll go. Like I whacked it a couple times just on my anvil here, and I've already got a place for it to start. So we'll just put a few ton on it. I'm going to take my camera in to my buddies when I do this, and I'll show you what a press can do. It's an amazing machine. Like I said, it's homemade, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, you got a camera here.
Actually, I mean, yep.
What?
Yes, I do.
Why do you have it?
Because you told me it was fine if I did that.
I never told you that.
Yeah, you did. It's in the minutes here about a year ago. You just made me forget, but yes, I did.
No. I don't, you should have a motion until you allow that or not.
It's already been allowed.
No. Can you
Well,
check
the
minutes?
meeting minutes from a year ago will be over there. I can pull
If it
them out.
bothers you guys that much, I'll shut it off.
Yeah, I think.
Have you got something to hide or what?
No, I just don't think it's even legal that you can do that.
Oh yeah, it is with permission.
Can you scooch forward
And I
just a
have
little
that.
bit?
You never had my permission.
Okay, guys, that's fine. Everything goes in the minutes anyway, so. It doesn't matter, Sylvia, I'll just shut it off.
Okay.
Just going to take a little bit off of this housing here so my aluminum plate fits on good. I've already done this face here. Took it down 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just working on that one. It's proven to be a nasty little thing to work with. It vibrates so much and there's really no way to clamp it. So I've just been cutting about 20 thou off it at a time, and I just hold it to keep it from vibrating. Spin my cutter pretty fast so it doesn't grab and get too aggressive. So I'm just gonna set it up here and finish chewing a little bit. I've got about 1/8 of an inch left to go here. I'll show you what's happening. Okay, it's probably going to get noisier than hell. I don't know if you'll hear much, but I'm just going to show you a bit of it anyway. I also don't measure this to get my height. I just take a piece of the aluminum that I'm using and just set it down on a piece I've machined and have a look. Yeah, we're very close here. We've got about 1/8 of an inch to go. So we're gaining. And there we have the plate on the engine. There's 2 dowels on this. Actually, there's a dowel inside the housing that I drove in. It goes halfway into the aluminum plate. And then, of course, there's a dowel that's in the block in this one. It also goes halfway into the aluminum plate. So everything lines up really good on that dowel, and of course there's another one down on the bottom close to the starter, so it should be nice and solid and it shouldn't get a chance to move. The holes are very tight, you gotta wiggle a little bit to get the bolts in, so should be fine that way. There'll be no room for it to start to move. I think my engine torquing and moving is going to be under control here. I don't think there'll be any more problems with any of that. Of course, there's my double frame. Goes up. Damn sun. Goes up. And all the framework in the front here. I'll get some good shots of that one of these days and make up a movie of it. Lock the ends of those pipes so that they're plugged off. And soon I'll be able to start on my airbox here. I'm going to build a small one, I guess, just out of aluminum. Get it on a little bit of an angle maybe, and get some kind of a bit of a chase built inside of it, some kind of a plenum. I don't know what I'll use, but we'll get something in there so that it can work properly. Okay, for those that have never seen the bottom end of a rotary engine, you're about to be really disappointed. There's absolutely nothing in here. All it is, it's just like a dry sump. The pickup is there, of course, for the oil pump. There's your oil pump there with the chain drive. And that's all that you'll see. There's just passages that come down. That passage right in there, that's where the dipstick runs. There's a dipstick right here. Right there. That's just where the oil filler fills it and whatever. Of course it runs down from the top. But that's it. There's nothing else in there. Of course, a couple passages there. It's just for oil to come down. See the different sections. The rotor housing here, rotor housing here. These are just the irons. 2 end irons. One there. One where the oil pump goes on. Here's the oil pump pickup. It's just a bunch of sections that bolt together. But I know when the first time I took a pan off, I was pretty disappointed. There was nothing there to look at. It looks almost like the top of it. They're just, people expect to see all kinds of things that are moving and turning in here, but absolutely nothing. There you go. bottom end of a 13B rotary, naturally aspirated. There's my silly little tripod stand that I built to lift stuff off and on my frame and whatnot with. I'm too damn old to lift it anymore by hand, so. Just 2 pieces of angle iron, piece of 1 1/4 light wall pipe. It's nothing really, it's just cheap crap. And I just use a pulley there to stick my chain hoist through. Works great, very stable, nice and solid. That's what we used to butcher beef with, a big one like that outside. I remember well lynching the old beef up on the tripod with the chain hoist. Or block and tackle is what we use. But anyway, the hell with that. There you go. Okay, there's my aluminum plate. I finally got it installed where I wanted it. Things are really getting tight. There's 4 bolts across the bottom. And there's 1 tucked underneath, just to the past the 4th bolt. And there's 2 there. And then of course the rest of the housing bolts on the other side. Okay, there we go. Aluminum plate is in. Took a little doing. I'll tell you that those 4 bolts across the bottom there are tight, boy. If it isn't perfect, they don't go in. It turned out really well. I'm just tickled with it. There's not a chance that engine is going to move. You know, it's all bolted down in the front here. Of course, you guys have seen that. There's 3 bolts there. Big one over there. It's just so tight. It's hard to get in there. Actually, it takes 15 minutes of wiggling and whatever to get those 4 front bolts in. Once they're in, take them in, you know, just before they're snug. And then this aluminum piece, get it onto the bell housing, and then you have to pry that black bolt. It has to come down about 1/16 of an inch, the aluminum plate, before the bolt will go in the hole, and it just makes it super tight. Like it can't move. I'm going to start now. I'm going to start with this. Here's my shaft. I built that shaft and I pressed it into that hub. There's no spline on it. I cut it 40 thou big where the spline is. I cut the shaft bigger and pressed it in. My friend has a huge press in Outlook here. I took about 50 ton to push it in there. It swelled. The end of that shaft swelled up about 1/2 inch down. I had to file it up a little bit. But there isn't a chance that's ever going to move. It'll snap the shaft in half before that ever turns. And if it does, it'll be easy to press out. I mean, you know, be nothing to it. I'll just stick it back in there and squeeze it out. But it should never bother. Seeing as I only have 1 wheel, my friend Chain Reaction, he has problems with his drive, but of course he's on a sand car. He's driving 2 wheels, so it's twice as much on it. Yeah, so this turned out really well. I'm real happy with it. I put the front end on, and actually I tightened it up. The nut and the yoke and everything is right where it should be. I haven't got the cover on it, but that's fine. It's coming together. I'm going to start, I guess I said before, I'm going to start on my carburetor soon, but I'm waiting for my kit and whatnot to come anyway, so I'm just going to carry on with the other side here. I'm going to put another aluminum plate down on this side to mount the other end of the shaft to, this shaft here. on the sprockets and whatnot, and then there'll be just, I think I'll just run 2 bearings. I'm not going to muck around with a third one in the middle. If I bust shafts, well, I will, but I don't think I ever will. I think it'll be more than ample. It's going to be overkill like usual, I think. This thing fit down so tight that to make it work and get all my bolts and stuff lined in, the heads of the bolts on the oil pan, they have a tiny little ridge right on the top end of them where your socket starts to go on. It's 32nd of an inch maybe. I had to grind them off in order for the engine to sit down low enough so that all my bolts would go. So it's a tidy. It should be great. No movement there, man. She's all one piece. In order for any of this to bend, it's going to have to tear the engine in half to do it. It can't. It's in there. There's too many bolts holding everything together. Large bolts too. They're not little wimps.